Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure, my privilege to welcome all of you to this virtual event during the peer review week, where we will talk about the recent developments in the use of AI in the peer review domain, with specific focus on the human centered AI assisted approach. Human validation cannot be removed from the loop, and that's given the current state of AI, and this is a known fact. However, we do need to understand how AI can help improve efficiency with some caveats, of course. So let's have a quick round of introductions. I have with me Martin Delahunty here. Martin, of course, needs no introduction. Martin heads Inspiring STEM Consulting and is a publishing advisor at Amnet. Martin's impressive list of credentials in the research domain is available on the screen right now for your reference. Welcome, Martin, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Haripriya.
And I'm Haripriya Bharath. I take care of the content and editorial vertical in Amnet ContentSource. I manage various editorial services, including peer review management and related services. And having seen AI evolve over the last few decades, it's my privilege to talk to Martin about the recent trends, potential risks, possible mitigation strategies, and best practices that should be followed in the use of AI in the peer review workflow. Before we jump into this session, I'll just give you a brief walkthrough of the topics that we plan to cover as part of this webinar. So, we will look at various aspects relating to the integration of AI into existing peer review workflows. We'll look at how AI or natural language processing can be leveraged to recommend relevant reviewers. And we'll look at how ethical considerations or which ethical considerations need to be taken into account while using AI tools in the peer review process. And importantly, we'll talk about potential risks and biases and possible mitigation strategies in AI powered peer review workflows. At the end of the session, we do have a Q&A session, so please feel free to post your questions relating to the topic and we'll take up as many as we can. And if you're not able to post the questions at this point, you can write to hello@amnet.com and we'll come back to you. Martin, we are in 2024, more than halfway through 2024. And how do you see the role of AI evolving in peer review, and why is balancing human expertise still critical in 2024?
That's a great first question, Haripriya. Thank you. And AI certainly has the potential to significantly enhance the peer review process and across other editorial workflows and existing technologies in academic publishing. And this might include initial screening and triage of manuscripts, assisting in reviewer selection, supporting content analysis, maintaining quality control of reviewers. So the benefits of integrating AI into peer review include increased efficiency, enhanced consistency, reduced bias, and the ability to handle larger submission volumes. However, definitely challenges exist, such as maintaining transparency, maintaining the human element, which is critical, addressing potential algorithmic biases, and considering ethical implications, which we'll cover later on. However, whilst AI can greatly support the peer review process, it should complement rather than replace human reviewers. I would say also that it's more likely to be an enhancement rather than a replacement for existing and proven technologies. So what we should focus on is careful implementation, ongoing evaluation, and a refinement, which is crucial to maintain the integrity and the quality of academic publishing when integrating AI into the peer review process. So, question for you, Haripriya. How is Amnet approaching the integration of AI technologies into your existing systems?
Thank you, Martin. I completely agree with the points that you started with. The role that human oversight plays in this entire process cannot be overemphasized. And as to how Amnet is approaching integration of AI with the existing system, we are evaluating, our technology team is evaluating different models, and we have our proprietary platform, Nucleus Journals, that enables submission to acceptance and post acceptance until publication through a single collaborative interface. And we've integrated AI as part of Nucleus for certain functionalities. We'll talk about these later in the session. But yes, development and testing are ongoing, and it's definitely heartening to see AI evolving and being integrated into existing systems with human oversight, of course. And as we talk about key concerns, so certainly one question on everyone's mind would be, what are the key ethical concerns that peer reviewers and publishers need to be aware of when using AI tools?
Again, another important question, and we know AI has this potential to offer benefits through the peer review process, but it also raises several ethical concerns, and we need to carefully address those. And so I might list these as, firstly, privacy and data protection. We know these AI systems and large language models require access to large amounts of data, including potentially sensitive information about researchers and their work. So ensuring the privacy and security of this data is crucial to maintain the trusted relationship that publishers and other stakeholders have within the peer review process. We also are aware of algorithmic bias. So AI systems can perpetuate or amplify existing biases in academic publishing, potentially disadvantaging certain groups of researchers and types of research. There is this inherent lack of transparency. This black box nature of AI algorithms can make it very difficult to understand how decisions are made, raising concerns about accountability and fairness. And we might also see the perceived dehumanization of the review process. An over-reliance on AI could potentially reduce the valuable human insight and discourse that is central to the peer review process. We have intellectual property concerns. So with the advancement of science and scientific progress and endeavor, there may be questions about who owns the insights generated by AI systems and how this information should be used or shared. And we're all concerned about research integrity, and so there may be an impact on research and academic integrity. The use of AI in peer review might incentivize authors to game the system, potentially compromising the integrity of academic publishing. So addressing these and other ethical concerns requires ongoing dialogue between publishers, researchers, ethicists, AI developers, and tech companies. Implementing robust governance frameworks is a good start, ensuring transparency around AI use, and ultimately still maintaining that human oversight are crucial steps in ethically integrating AI into the peer review process.
Yeah, valid concerns, valid pointers, Martin, that every stakeholder involved would need to be aware of. And that really brings us to the next question, which is about the risks that publishers face. So, what are the risks publishers face with AI peer review, and how can they mitigate potential biases and ensure the integrity of the review process? So addressing this question is going to be critical. And there's no denying that publishers do face several risks when integrating AI into the peer review process. And over reliance, like you mentioned, is certainly a huge risk. And at this point, automated decisions certainly lag the nuanced judgment that's required in peer reviews, potentially overlooking subtle flaws or innovative aspects of research. And yeah, one way to mitigate this risk is, like you mentioned, AI should be used to assist and not replace human reviewers. And publishers can establish suitable protocols and a balanced workflow where AI handles routine tasks, plagiarism check, could be formatting, could be adherence to even certain journal specific guidelines. But when it comes to content analysis, it's the expert reviewers who should focus on critical content analysis, ensuring human oversight remains a central part of the process. And delegating decision making to AI, rather delegating too many decisions to AI is another concern, as this may lead to an erosion in the quality of peer review, as AI might miss the broader scientific, ethical, or even societal implications of research. And this is where we come back to human reviewers. Human reviewers must oversee critical areas like the novelty, significance, and ethics of the research. AI can flag issues, but the final decision on acceptance or rejection should always involve human judgment, ensuring that the nuanced expertise of reviewers is applied to every evaluation. And talking about system based risks, so potential biases, so that's definitely one risk that we need to explore, look into how this can be handled. AI systems can inherit biases present in training data or develop unintended biases, again based on patterns that it learns, and this could in turn lead to biased assessments of research based on author demographics, could be institutions, could be subject areas. And again, another area where publishers can have control over what's being generated, or rather what's being taken as the final output. So publishers should actively monitor AI outputs for bias, and it's important to regularly audit algorithms for fairness. So you spoke about algorithmic biases, so it's going to be critical to audit algorithms for biases. And at a larger level, domain experts should ensure diversity in the training data sets and implementing bias detection mechanisms to help reduce the risk of AI favoring or even possibly leaving out certain groups of authors or topics. So that's going to be critical. And additionally, coming back to human oversight, human reviewers should double check AI outputs in cases where critical decisions are made. And in general, decision making is one area where the additional focus from human reviewers should continue. And another key concern, another key risk that publishers face is data security. So, handling sensitive research data during peer review poses significant data security risk. And AI systems, if compromised, could expose unpublished findings, confidential research findings if the author is particular about closed review, intellectual property, or even personal information is prone to be exposed. And we again come back to the controls that publishers can enforce here. So publishers should adopt stringent data protection protocols. It's important to use encrypted channels for AI interactions. And it's important to regularly update security practices and ensure that AI tools comply with data privacy regulations such as GDPR. And human oversight, again, is essential to detect and manage potential breaches quickly. So, yeah, I think in short, we could say ensuring human oversight in critical areas is key. But by carefully implementing AI into the peer review process with due diligence and different safeguards in place, publishers can leverage AI's benefit while preserving the quality, fairness, integrity, and security of academic reviews. And at this point, Martin, as we talk about diversity and inclusivity, enhancing diversity in the peer review process for academic journals is crucial for ensuring a wide range of perspectives and reducing biases in scientific publishing. Now, what strategies would you suggest to increase diversity while taking advantage of new technologies?
Yes, I think this is an ongoing challenge for publishers to. One of the areas that publishers, I think, struggle with is expanding the length and breadth of the reviewer pool. So programming an algorithm and using an AI tool to actively seek out and invite reviewers from underrepresented groups could be a very positive attribute, including early career researchers, women scholars, ensuring diversity from racial, ethnic, and geographical backgrounds. I think where this is one area where we can be more efficient by the appropriate and responsible use of AI. Secondly, implementing blind review processes. So we know historically there's been many testing of the models of single and double blind and open peer review. But implementing a blind peer review process from an AI perspective, training the large language model to use double blind or triple blind review systems to reduce potential bias based on author identity or affiliation is very important. And providing training to humans who have oversight, the editors, the reviewers, and the publishers to ensure that we avoid unconscious bias, to help mitigate the inherent biases that we know are there when programming large language models and directing them to process information on our behalf. I think there's great opportunities to create mentorship programs, so we can use technology and data to develop training programs that pair experienced reviewers with early career researchers. Early career researchers feel quite often challenged in becoming a peer reviewer, and they're looking for that coaching and mentoring. So pairing up experienced peer reviewers with those early career researchers, particularly from underrepresented groups, can build this capacity and confidence. I think that this can be very, very powerful. Use of inclusive language. So to ensure that calls for reviewers and other communications use inclusive language that encourages participation from diverse groups. That we find technologies that recognize reviewer contributions, so implement systems that acknowledge, reward, and recognize diverse reviewer contributions, potentially through public recognition or consideration academic valuations. And we know there are a number of products and services out there at the moment that look to help in reviewer recognition. Reviewer credits is one product that I will mention. So overall, I remain positive. I do believe that we can appropriately and responsibly utilize AI and other tools to enhance diversity and equity in peer review.
Right. Thank you, Martin, for the helpful strategies. And yeah, if you could just move our focus to authors now. It's the author's manuscript that's being reviewed, that's being scrutinized. And so let's look at what concerns authors might have of publishers using AI tools in the peer review process. So academic authors may have several concerns in this area about the introduction of AI technologies. So one concern that authors might have is that AI cannot fully grasp the nuances, context, or innovative aspects of their research, and potentially leading to unfair rejections. And again, there may be concerns about AI systems, the fact that AI systems could perpetuate existing biases in academic publishing, again, disadvantaging certain types of research or researchers. And authors might fear that AI driven reviews could lack the depth, constructive criticism, I mean, even the intellectual discourse provided by human reviewers. So, that's again one area of concern for authors that one needs to address. And privacy and data security concerns remain. Concerns may arise about how AI systems handle sensitive research data and personal information. And you spoke about black box, Martin. So, true, transparency issues, authors might worry about the lack of transparency in how AI makes decisions, making it difficult to understand or even appeal review outcomes. So, given the concerns that authors might have, how can publishers alleviate these concerns?
Publishers can take several steps, I think, maintaining, again, this human oversight to clearly communicate to authors and editors and peer reviewers and all the external stakeholders involved in the peer review ecosystem, to clearly communicate that AI is used only as a tool to assist human reviewers, not to replace them, and to ensure that final decisions and oversight is made by experienced editors. To your point, ensuring transparency wherever possible, provide clear information about how the AI is used in the review process, how it is trained, including its role and its limitations, and the measures that the publisher will take to prevent bias. Implementing robust data protection, establishing and communicating these strong security measures to protect authors' research and personal information. Again, authors are giving trust in their research and their research content to publishers through a process of peer review. They want to know that the intellectual property rights and the privacy rights and the data rights are protected by the publisher. Perhaps we could look at an area that is, always a particular challenge for authors going through peer review is to appeal either a revision or a rejection. So to develop a fair appeals process includes a human review of any AI flagged issues, allowing authors to challenge or seek clarification on AI influenced decisions. So this can work both ways, can work in situations where a human objective, maybe subjective view on a piece of research that's rejected may miss a crucial piece of information, which can be re-reviewed and then move towards an acceptance. Similarly, an AI decision that has not had full oversight from a human reviewer to make in error a rejection, that needs to be assessed as well. And continuous improvement of these particularly large language models. We know that they're training models. They need continuous training, continuous improvement, regular refinement of the algorithms based on feedback from authors, reviewers, editors, again, to address biases and to prove accuracy. And providing literacy training in AI and associated tools to offer resources and training to help authors understand how AI is used in peer review and how to effectively engage with AI-assisted systems. So education around AI, I think, is still really, really important.
True, Martin. I think transparency and collaboration will be critical here, and it's going to be important. To let that go on for a second, please. So we're now nearing the end of the session. Q&A is pending, of course. And at this point, would you like to summarize what it looks like are the top trends and best practices we foresee shaping peer review in 2024?
Thanks, Haripriya. Yes, and I think just through our short discussion, but quite detailed discussion, I think we could probably summarize maybe the top 5 trends that we might see. So first, definitely an increased AI adoption for routine tasks. Again, looking at increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of existing processes. We might see a greater adoption of AI and LLMs to address open peer review, to improve transparency and collaboration. Diversity in reviewer pools, again, expanding the capacity and the breadth and diversity of the reviewer pool and the effectiveness of matching papers correctly with the right reviewer. Again, a huge challenge for publishers. Again, I can see AI tools being very efficient in doing that. Post-publication peer review is becoming more prominent. So comments that are added post-publication by the research community to help advance and curate. AI can be great in pulling that information together, training, using a large language model to have an insight around a novelty for work, or the accuracy and correctness of work, or how we advance generally the scientific and human endeavor. And then, finally, again, addressing the need to be global in inclusion of reviewers and how AI, I think, can help bridge geographical gaps. So I think those might be sort of 5 takeaways that we can give. And then maybe you can touch on from an Amnet and a Nucleus point of view.
Yes, sure, Martin. So, yeah, talking about global reviewer inclusion, we have included in Nucleus. So, we spoke about Nucleus in the beginning, and so Nucleus has an AI-powered reviewer database that enables the editor to search for reviewers in the database using concepts, individuals, publications, affiliations, or even combinations of these using the AI system. So, if a reviewer profile is available in the database and it's suitable for a research paper, the name will be highlighted regardless of global location. The decision, of course, still lies with the editor. It is the editor's discretion to select the reviewer though. And yeah, I think to reiterate, we certainly need to be careful while integrating AI in the peer review workflow. Peer review is evolving, no doubt, but human oversight remains critical. AI technologies are being overseen by humans. Humans are driving the AI technologies. So, human governance, AI related governance, that's going to be crucial. And what's also important is the ongoing collaboration amongst all stakeholders in the scholarly publishing ecosystem. Yeah, with that, we kind of come to the end of the session, and the floor is now open for Q&A. So, Martin, I see that we have the first question here. What are the challenges of the manual peer review process? I think pertinent question given today's scenario.
Yeah, that's a great question, because what we shouldn't lose focus of is the existing challenges within the peer review process. Peer review is inherently a human endeavor. It's quite unique within publishing in that we have this central function that's wholly reliant on human beings to make expert but sometimes subjective views on whether, again, a piece of research is novel, whether it advances its subject area or advances science or economy. And I think the great thing about applying AI tools and the excitement and the enthusiasm around artificial intelligence and large language models is merely a lens for us to look at pre-existing problems and challenges. So that means that we continue to look at challenges that have been persistent for decades within peer review. And the most fundamental challenge is that we have a exponential growing number of academic and scientific papers, particularly driven by the open access publishing model, and we have fewer and fewer reviewers. And also the matching and the effectiveness of matching reviewers currently without consideration of any AI technologies, the matching of those reviewers is very imperfect. So we have a highly inefficient system at the moment. So those are the challenges that we should just continue to map out and be aware of, and then apply appropriate and responsible technologies. So Pawan, great question, because we shouldn't get too excited. We are excited about the new technologies, but we should be refocusing on pre-existing problems against which then we apply these new technologies. And I might just come to Anita Judd just asked me to reiterate the first sort of closing point, which is about increased AI adoption for routine tasks. And I think this is where, again, if we look at the current manual process, if you would like to call it that, there are very definite routine tasks. So, a routine task at the very beginning of the manuscript review process, when a manuscript is submitted to a publisher, is to triage for any plagiarism, for any potential forgery or inaccurate data, to check that the manuscripts match with the instructions for authors, for example, that they match with the relevant aims and scope for the journal. Are they in scope for the journal? So there are decision desks, desk editors that currently do that. And for many journals, a large percentage of submissions to journals are rejected at the desk immediately because they don't meet the guide for authors. There's some issues, concerns around the accuracy of the data being presented, or that the submissions don't actually match to the journal aims and scope. So there are routine tasks definitely that AI can take on. The non-routine task is that subjective view on whether this is a novel piece of research. So for a journal like Science, Nature, Lancet, that accept only 2 or 3% of work that's submitted, their triage process is very intensive, to get to that level where they want to publish work that really significantly advances the science. So separating out those sort of high-level intellectual decisions from the routine tasks is probably a first step that a publisher can take. And you can do that whether you're a large publisher or whether you're a small publisher publishing just one journal. So it's those routine tasks, again, that you would want to map out, separate out from the more high-level intellectual tasks, address those routine tasks with AI technologies or machine processes to increase your efficiency. But again, one of the fundamental challenges at the moment is we've got too many papers and not enough reviewers. And the matching process for those reviewers that are available is imperfect.
So we do have a related question here. So it's about how can publishers effectively scale peer review operations while maintaining quality and speed?
Yes, another really great question, Morali. Thank you. And so, scaling peer review operations while maintaining the quality and speed at the moment, it's, again, I think it's mapping out those tasks that are routine versus the high level intellectual tasks. Scaling in a controlled fashion. So if you have a portfolio of journals to test, scaling up the use of an AI technology on a small number or one journal as a proof of concept, to do it in a very considered way, that will allow you to then scale up over time more appropriately. So taking small steps, I think, is important. As with any adoption of new technologies, is to take small steps, to do pilots, to get feedback, to adjust and amend based on that feedback. Also to consider that, again, these AI technologies are imperfect. Despite all the hype that we see, and we expect hype from companies that are looking to advance commercial endeavors, but we have to be very careful in evaluating the proposed benefits of these products versus the actual benefits. So testing in small scale, piloting in small scale, really, really important. Yeah, we've got another question on again, managing complex peer review workflows efficiently. And again, one size doesn't fit all with AI technologies, because we have a multitude of different and sometimes complex editorial workflows. And it may depend on the size and scale of the publication in terms of submitted manuscripts or the complexity of the subject area. And so, again, that's another consideration where before you even consider adopting a new AI technology, you need to really get under the hood of your existing peer review workflows, and to map out and differentiate workflows that are maybe more complex, and to maybe try out new technologies on the less complex, which might be sensible. But best practices for managing complex peer review workflows efficiently is, again, just making sure that you're mapping out and understanding each component of the workflow, how they link together, and what are the risks at each stage, and to mitigate the risks, and then to look at where you can make improvements and efficiencies against each of those steps.
Yes, I think that it's certainly critical here that people venture into the adoption of technologies, knowing how this could be managed, what risks are there, and how could they possibly manage. And if it's the complex peer review workflow, certainly it's going to be all the more critical, given that peer review is all about integrity. It's going to be all the more critical now that we maintain, or as we adopt AI technologies, we continue to maintain the fairness that's so very important in this process. See another question that I believe we've already addressed part of it, Martin. How do you balance human expertise with technology in peer review without compromising quality?
Uh, I think just by including humans in the design of the algorithms around the large language models. So if you're adopting a tool, external tool, you need to recognize it needs to be trained and needs to be trained by an expert, and that expert should be located within your publishing organization. And so that creates a challenge because that person then needs to be trained and educated and experienced around use of algorithms, the ins and outs of large language model training. There's complexity there. So what I might see is that you've got a capability being created within a publisher for an AI LLM expert who is also expert in editorial processes, and finding that combination. I mean, that can be quite a unique job description. I think it would be quite attractive to find those complementary attributes together. So developing new capabilities within publishers, within the editorial teams, will be, I think, very important in the successful adoption of new technologies.
So, yeah, there's another question here, comes from Anne Stone. The International Committee for Medical Journal Editors have created guidelines for use of AI in peer review. Do you know of other guidelines for ethical, responsible use of AI in peer review?
Thank you, Anne, for sharing that. And I'm not currently aware of any other organization that has produced specific guidelines for use of AI in peer review. We are aware through last year, and if we remember, it's only November 2022 when ChatGPT 3.5 was launched onto our desktops and into our world and became part of the vernacular. And it was last year only that the major publishers, Nature, Science, JAMA, etc., looked to address one of the first challenges around the adoption of AI, which was around authorship. And so just reiterating that AI and ChatGPT cannot be an author, doesn't have the capacity or ability to be an author. So those guidelines were updated, and Committee on Publication Ethics produces a really good set of guidelines and updated guidelines as well. And ICMJE as well updated their guidelines. So to Anne's question, I'm not aware, but I should expect that other organizations will look at the responsible use of guidelines for responsible use of AI in peer review. Now, I think that that will come as more tools and technologies come in place specifically aimed at peer review. I think the authorship capability around ChatGPT was the one that was most immediately accessible and adopted. So I think that those sets of reviews around peer review, guidelines around peer review, are really, really important. So I think we should follow the lead from ICMJE and look to other organizations to look more closely at how AI can be used responsibly in peer review.
Thank you, Martin. I think we can take just one more question. As AI tools become more common in the peer review process, how can we make sure they work alongside human expertise instead of reducing the importance of human judgment when it comes to evaluating the originality and value of research? This comes from Parkavan Sundar.
Parkavan, thank you. Great, good question. Well, and it's we're just reiterating the need to maintain the human component to the developing of these technologies. So what I would expect is that the tech developers will work very closely alongside, if it's a publisher and if it's a journal publisher, to actually engage with an editorial team as a development stakeholder for a product that addresses peer review. So I would expect that to be, a good way forward for a technology vendor to engage as a development stakeholder with editorial teams who have that expertise, and not to do it independently. So that's where you retain that human judgment in evaluating the outputs, and it's the evaluation of these outputs from the large language models that has created problems, because we have had use of LLMs where the output is judged as to whether it's valid or not by non-experts. And so then that just reinforces bias, takes us down a narrower and narrower path. We need to make sure with human expertise within particularly human specialties, that we maintain that broad perspective, and that we don't lose sight of ultimately within publishing and within the publication output, publication in a journal, it's ultimately a human being that has responsibility for that content. That should be open and transparent and obvious. So I'm feeling positive about the benefits for AI in peer review. I think it's only just beginning to be looked at as a process where we can realistically apply tools. But the take-home message is that we still need human oversight and involvement through the whole process.
Certainly, Martin, that's definitely a positive note to close the session on. And yes, we are at the end of the session now. So thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for the great questions that came as part of the Q&A session. If there are any further questions, please feel free to write to hello@amnet.com and we'll get back to you. And thank you, Martin, for your time and for all of the useful insights that you shared during the session.
Thank you very much, Haripriya, for the opportunity, and thank you all for your attention today and for the questions.